Over 4,000 days have passed since we've had this opportunity to celebrate this exact moment. The Philadelphia Phillies, your Philadelphia Phillies, have now clinched a berth in the 2022 MLB postseason in the virtue of a 3-0 victory over the Houston Astros. Big Al joins me tonight. Welcome back to the Phighins Final here on the Edge of Philly Sports. Al, 4,000 days. I mean, what's going through your mind right now?
All that's going through my mind is like you said, 4,000 days. It's a long time, but like all the memories are starting to rush back again. We talk about it all the time. We reminisce about it all the time. But when you are within a drought like the Phillies were for as long as they were, you can only talk about it. You know what I mean? Like, uh, I'm feeling it again. I'm feeling that postseason rush. I know I got my tickets. I know I'm going to see it. Uh, we're in. You know, there was a lot of doubt going up and down throughout this. I mean, the beginning of this year had such high hopes the first couple of weeks, and then done. Joe Girardi smashing those hopes, and then Super Rob Thompson comes in, changes his team around. This team finds its identity, overcomes adversity, losing Bryce Harper, keeps themselves going. When you have two teams in your division winning 100 games and you're struggling like we did, the fact that we can go to the postseason speaks volumes about how hard, like how tough this division is, and how tough this team is, and how resilient this team is. I mean, you know, there's a lot of times we come on here, we go on our show, our perspective shows, and we poo-poo this team. You know,
Nope.
because yeah, and it is a roller coaster ride of emotions at best. You know what I mean? And that's what makes, 162 games is a lot of games, and it's a lot of games for that reason, not the reason of 162 games to watch, to take in, to do post game shows for. So congratulations to you, Matty B. You're 2 games away from your shutout. At least for the regular season, because you got some extra innings to go up against now. At least for this weekend. Hopefully, further into the week. You know, it'd be interesting to see how they go, what they do from here on out. Do they let some young guys come in and pitch the games? Do they rest some guys? You got two teams now who it's not. I don't think it makes much of a difference at this point. So they're probably just gonna be like, let's see what happens.
Al, I echo your sentiments exactly. And on game number 160 of the 2022 season, we're able to celebrate this. Obviously, I would want to. I had higher hopes for this team. I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm not on cloud nine right now. I am. It's a great moment. It's a great feeling, and as you mentioned, the memories of those that past generation, as well as the memories that preceded that, right after that, in those bad baseball years of 2013 all the way up to this particular moment in time.
Let's
It's
talk
that
about that.
validation. Yeah, it's the validation of being a fan that you stick with them the way through all of this ups and downs. 2008 was a great year. Obviously, World Series. I'm not talking World Series yet, but we've now at least punched our ticket to compete for that prize. But I'd say bring it on, man. The Fighting Final has been a great experience for me. I'm glad that we've been able to start it this year and actually be able to take it and be covering the Phillies' first playoff berth in 11 years. So I
I'm
cannot
just
ask.
pointing something out. When I tend to start things, good things happen. Edge of Philly Sports started. Oh, and by the way, the Eagles win the Super Bowl for the first time in their lives. So no. And then, listen, we're not counting our eggs or anything, but it's just nice to be back at the dance. Gives
Yeah.
us something to hope for. There is just, we say it before, we've said it 1,000 times. There is just something about Red October in this town. And I also see this as a resurgence for the love of baseball in this town. A lot of young people out there who haven't had a taste of it yet. I look at my own kids. I have a 13-year-old, I have a 7-year-old, I even have a 20-year-old. They don't know. They don't know what it's like. They don't know, like they haven't had a taste. And even if they were around for it, like my 20-year-old, I remember it was Halloween night, and we go down to the parade, and he missed Halloween because of that. Like, I mean, we had to go home and dump all the candy that we bought for other people into his bag and walk around like for a block. And it's just amazing. It's overwhelming. And for a while, like I said, this seemed like it was going to be a long shot. And let's be honest, I didn't think it was going to happen tonight. I don't know why. I just didn't have this feeling that it was going to happen tonight. They were going to make us stretch it out a little bit longer. And then you had the Brewers going on at the same time, and they actually ended up winning. And I'm glad we could do it this way. I'm glad it was on our own W. It wasn't on a loss of somebody else, because I would say I would still be excited about going to postseason, but if because the Brewers didn't sweep a team and we got swept out, it wouldn't taste as nice. But it's still an amazing moment, and Phillies fans rejoice, enjoy. Go get your tickets, man. We need to fill up the bank. We need
Absolutely.
to fill the bank. I got mine, and I'm ready to go get more because I
And
bought.
now Walter chimes in with Garrett Stubbs should be starting tomorrow. Now, Walter, I kind of pumped the brakes on that because there is an other possibility right now as we are within a game of the Padres for that second wild card spot, which would be, and of course, we own the tiebreaker against the Padres. So there is still something to play for, or is there, Big Al, as you mentioned? Are they resigned now for that third spot, or do we continue to push this thing to potentially set up a Phillies Mets first round playoff series?
Bring anybody on. I'm Bill Goldberg. I'm who's next at this point. Like
That's great.
I
Yeah,
don't care. I'll take all comers on. I'll fight you blindfolded. Let's do this. Like that's how I feel right now. I'm tired of people going, well, yeah. How many articles I've read over the last 24 to 48 hours about Phillies baseball, and well, guess what? It would probably be best if they stay in this third position and go out to play the Cardinals. I don't know. You got old man River out there hitting dingers like it's nothing, So does that make it better? No. I'm just saying I don't care who the matchup is. Be ready to play ball. This is all clean slate at this point. The Mets are 0-0. The Phillies are 0-0. Everybody's zeros in the columns. So now it's when it starts. This is when you have to put it together, and this is when you have to go out and play some real baseball. And this is going to show you what if this team has any oomph on them. They go in and get swept by no matter who it is, the Cardinals, the Mets, the Braves, it doesn't matter. The Dodgers. That it's kind of like what we thought about last year's Eagles, They slinked into the playoffs, beating some bad teams, were able to keep their head above the water, and then they got slaughtered by Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So it lost a little of its vigor. Not that we weren't all excited leading up to the game, but I want to see them put up a fight. That's why I want to say the word "fighting Phillies." Fighting's final. We got the word "fighting's" from something, and I want to say it, and I want to mean something.
Oh, absolutely. And Bryce Brown, our boy from the ROK, he's back in the States apparently there, Al. He's chiming in. What's up, boys? About time. Just got back to the States and we couldn't be happier to watch this win from my dad's couch. Yeah, and that's the other thing about tonight, Al.
Welcome, Bryce. Welcome
back. Welcome home. I imagine across Phillies Nation tonight, there's a sense of relief. Potentially, as you mentioned, there's a whole generation of baseball fans, Phillies fans, that have never experienced postseason baseball. So they don't necessarily know how special this journey is that they're about to go on into the postseason. And you're right. This is maybe what baseball needs, and what we need here in Philadelphia is a good shot in the arm of that Red October rally towels. Can we get rally towels on order down there at the bank? I know we wouldn't necessarily.
I would imagine now they're going to have them, but like I would have liked to see them, 10, 11, 12 games ago.
Yes.
But no, rally. We've said this has been postseason baseball since mid-September when they faltered against the Cubs, when they were, not like when things looked bleak. I mean, we look like we were. You keep seeing the graphics on graphics on NBC, like showing the last 5 years of them, going 12, losing 12 of 13 games one year, losing 10 games in a row, like. Just like you're like, oh my God, it's so ominous. And we all sit here and hear people say, well, the shoe's going to drop for the Mets and they're going to drop out the bottom. Why we were sitting there, our bottoms were dropping out.
Yeah, it was, and I agree. But and to the Phillies' credit, they did what they had to do. At times, it's frustrating. It's been frustrating watching them at times. But tonight was one of those nights. Al, let's hit to the line real quick. Let's wrap this. Let's talk about this game in particular. The Aaron Nola show tonight. The Phillies would finish the game with 3 runs on 9 hits. The Astros, no runs on 2 hits. There were no errors committed by anybody. How the scoring would go, fast and furious. Kyle Schwarber, man, was get the game going literally on the first pitch. A towering home run to deep center field, left field to make it 1-0 Phillies. Bryson Stott would follow that up in the 8th as it was a pitching duel from that point on. He would homer, make it 2-0, and then Kyle Schwarber would follow that up as well in the 8th inning with the second of the night. 3-0 Phillies. That is your final. Kyle Schwarber on the night, 2 for 3, 2 runs, 2 RBIs, 2 home runs, and 2 walks. Hands down, the offensive player of the night for me. Reese Hoskins continues his struggles, Al, and we'll talk about that in a second. Another 0 for 4 night for him. Bryce Harper, a very quiet 1 for 4. JT 1 for 4, and then Brandon Marsh 2 for 4. And also Bryson Stott finished a triple shy of the cycle. He was 3 for 3 with an RBI and a home run. Nothing really doing offensively for the Astros because of Aaron Nola. He gets the win.
And the
11
bullpen.
and the bullpen. Nola, the win 11 and 13, 6.5 solid, dominant innings, 2 hits, no walks, 9 strikeouts. Jose Alvarado comes on, and boy, what a resurgence this guy has had in his career this year. After being sent down to AAA this summer, came back a different person, an inning of a third, 3 strikeouts, Al. Inning of a third, they couldn't touch him. And then Zach Eflin gets the save, his first ever career save. He pitched a solid 9th inning for the save. Lance McCullers Jr. for the Astros, he had himself a solid night. I mean, let's not say otherwise. 4-2 now, six innings, 6 hits, a run. It was earned. He had a walk and 5 strikeouts. And Phil Maton, Nick Maton's brother, pitched for the Astros. He pitched an inning and gave up a hit. And there you have it, 3-0. Let's talk a little bit about Aaron Nola. Is he potentially the player on this team the most you want to see in the postseason? Kind of get that monkey off his back. He's been the kind of the poster boy for the Phillies' late season collapses over the last 3 or 4 years.
All these guys have a story behind them. Like, how many times did Tom McCarthy say Gene Segura hasn't been the longest running active MLB player without a playoff game under his belt? I mean, I'm not Gene Segura, and I'm nauseated about hearing it as much as they say it. Bryce Harper, I mean, he came here and we were all expecting postseason right away. Maybe Reese Hoskins gets off the Schneider and really that's what JT Remuto gets his first chance. Zach Wheeler, all those different things. Like there's so many different storylines here. The only storyline I want is for somebody to kick somebody's ass, at least go down swinging. I gotta see fight, and I will continue with that mantra until I see it. It was nice to see. It was nice to see them come on and start off, and with Schwarber 2 home runs, do it right away, set the tone, and just get the ball rolling.
I absolutely was, and I'm personally happy for Aaron Nola. Aaron Nola looked all bit like the ace that he is supposed to have been here tonight. And against a dominant team, the Astros are a really good baseball team. Now, I got it. You might not be the fire from the Astros right now because there's nothing really for them to play for. But, it doesn't – it's good to see them handle a team like the Astros. I mentioned this yesterday on the show. The cupcake teams are done with. No matter wherever this takes us, we're going to be playing against playoff teams from this point forward. So we need efforts like this. And joining me now, Al, I cannot believe this. I got to bring him in here. I'm just.
Is this a first?
A first on the Phighins Final. Freddie Burns, welcome to the program, man. How you feeling?
Guys, I didn't realize how happy I actually was going to be. I'm just so happy. And it brings me back to them years in 2007, 8, 9, 10. I'm so happy. This has been a rough year for me. And I'm just so happy. I didn't think they were going to choke it up. I was kind of arrogant about it on our EOP show, Big Al, that one night. And then everything I said, remember I said get swept by the Braves, just don't get swept. And everything I said that possibly couldn't happen, happened. My buddy texted me, you just freaking
you mushed us.
You mushed I'm like, what is going on here? They're gonna blow this thing. And then tonight, to win it by winning the game. The Brewers coming back actually made it better because it was they won the game. And, I'm just so happy. They're celebrating in the clubhouse. I know you guys are doing the show. You probably didn't get to see it. Tomper just made an amazing speech. And he closed it with, "We're not done yet. After Wednesday, 13 more games, and we're World Series champions." And I was just like, you know what? Why not?
Why not?
Just jump on it. And if they don't, obviously it's not expected, but why not? Magical things happen, but I couldn't be happier to be on this show right now.
No, I mean, it's like you said, we talked about me and you and me and Matt, we've talked about reliving those heydays, the 07, 08, 09, and 10 time. But I've only feel like we read it in a book since then because it's been so long. It's just something I read about. the experience is starting to flow back. And I think about, like I said, my kids and this generation, because Freddie, we went back and forth the last time we were together about, how this could possibly be a resurgence for Phillies baseball in the youth, and bringing people back to the bank, and having this be a baseball town again. Having a 4-0 Phillies right now, having the Phillies going to the postseason. We always said like October is the busiest month for us, and now we could possibly be having 12 shows on 1 week, and before we even talk about everybody's normal show. This is just finals between the Sixers, the Flyers, the Eagles, and now the Phillies going into the postseason.
Yeah, it's a great time of the year, and I would not have it any other way, gentlemen. Honestly, I would not have it any other way. So let's talk a little bit about tonight's game. I do want to touch on one negative thing, and I want your guys' opinion about it. And it was the Gene Segura play, very reminiscent of a play that occurred a few years back when he popped up, decided not to run out of the box. The third baseman then saw that. Obviously, a Little League 101 play. I'm going to drop the ball because it's not an infield ground. It's not an infield fly. I could drop the ball and potentially get a double play. They were unable to do that. But once again, Gene Segura gets caught sandbagging out of the box. Do you think that the response to that is going to be a little bit different than Gabe's response to that? Or is it something that we need to kind of worry? Because personally, I was back on Team Segura this year. He won me back by his work ethic and the way he played this year. But I was really pissed off when he did that tonight.
Good, Fred.
I don't think. I think in today's Major League Baseball, it's just accept it. Not that I agree with it. And they need him on the field in the playoffs, essentially.
Yeah.
So
the timing of it doesn't play right, I think, as well.
He's pretty clutch too. He even the past years, like when we've made runs, he's been that clutch hitter. I just don't see any repercussions. If they would have lost tonight, maybe things change, but I think it's kind of just going to be like, hey man, come on, you can't do that. And I think he'll know that as well. He's probably frustrated. He popped up and just, but I'm with you though. It's just not.
I mean, it cost
what you want to see.
The season that year. I mean, he blew out his ACL in that play, so it was very reminiscent. It was exactly the same play. It was exactly the same thing. It was very reminiscent.
Right. Well, and here's my thing. It's like I agree with you. I think the timing of it as well doesn't help. Like, you're not going to sit there and celebrate, finally making the postseason for the first time in a decade, especially Rob Thompson, who, just thought he was an interim manager while they found his replacement, who's now pretty much all but locked up the job. I think the best way he handles it is they celebrate tonight. Tomorrow they're lacing their shoes up for batting practice, and maybe pulls them off the side. Don't do that again. Like, maybe slap them upside the head a little bit. Don't be stupid, Gene. And we can't afford that from here on out.
We cannot afford that at all. So Steven has been chiming in all left and right. I want to kind of get to a couple of his comments. I'm gonna get to this one. Topper absolutely put the right pitchers in tonight. Yes, he did. Schwartz did the J Rollish thing, setting the tone. Shame HK could not be here for this. I echo the HK sentiment, and I always will, because in my internal monologue in my mind, he's calling every game. But you're right. It's a shame that he's not actually doing that. Let's talk about Kyle Schwarber tonight. 2 home runs. We're up to 47 now in the season, I guess, for the year. And
46.
Is it 46?
I think so.
It's 46, 47. It's up there.
Yeah.
I have been extremely critical of Kyle Schwarber in the leadoff position. I don't think it's good. I don't think it's been good all season. Obviously, it's very good when he's hitting home runs, but that seems to be all Kyle Schwarber is. But Al, you mentioned it. We're 0-0. We hit it wherever we are this weekend. It starts a brand new day. It starts a brand new page of the season. Upsetting the apple cart be damned. Are we making a switch at the lineup right now, or are we going to roll with Schwarber and Hoskins in that 1 and 2 role until this season ends? And I'll ask Freddie Burns that right off the bat.
I mean, what do you think? You think he's going to change now? He got in. Got in. And
you don't change the recipe at the end of the 11th hour again.
He's been so stubborn about it, and I understand the Schwarber leadoff thing. I do get it because he gets more at bats, and if those runners are on, and he hits the home runs. But, they're not going to change it. It doesn't matter. We could scream to the end. They're not going to make the change at this point. If there was a time to make that change, it would have been 5 games ago, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just don't see that they're going to, or not that if there was a time he would make the change. I'm not saying he shouldn't have. So,
Well, you may not see him there because maybe he sits him for a game or two for the next couple of games. We don't know. We got to find out what he does. The rest any of these guys.
well, I think
Nick,
that's talking about the playoffs, not
no,
fucking
I
the
get
next
that, but I'm
game.
like, do you move Bryson Stott or do you move somebody into that leadoff spot and see how they do for the next couple of games and see what happens? In the playoffs, no. I think you go with what these guys are comfortable with. I mean, baseball, sports in general, guys are creatures of habit, but baseball, I think it's double that and than any other sport. So, I mean, you hear about a right tackle going to a left tackle, and they got to wait to adjust to it. So, yeah. I think you leave it alone. The recipe is what it is. It's got you this far. There's no reason to change it now unless they just start falling apart.
What about leaving? So let's kind of gravitate towards our, Reese Hoskins, who a lot of people, to include me, are really kind of done with the whole Reese Hoskins thing this season. I think it's time to move on once we do enter the offseason. But leave him at that number 2 hole. Is that something as well as we're not going to be stubborn to come off of? He has been putrid over the last month. Again, we're moving into the playoffs. Everyone gets a free pass or everyone gets a do-over. But bottom line is, do we tweak the lineup at all heading into the playoffs?
I agree with you on Hoskins. Should be the end of the road. This was his most consistent year up until a point. I actually wanted to trade him. Like, hey, look, he's putting on. We're probably not going to see this again. But as far as tweaking the lineup, should they? Maybe. I mean, their bats have been kind of dead. They only had 3 runs tonight.
Yep. All long ball.
They didn't really hit the lights out. So should they? Yes. Are they going to? No, because Tomper has shown me. Unless, hey, maybe because it was even questioned about them bringing Wheeler back. Like there was rumors Wheeler was ready to go, but they were holding him out longer. Unless there's some long game plan here that he's waiting because he knew he was going to get in, I don't see it happening.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the other good thing to look at this. I mean, today's Monday, right? Now Zach Wheeler probably starts on Friday. That means Nola can go on Saturday. So I mean, it's nice that the stars aligned this way that they were able to lock it up tonight. So now you can have your 1-2 punch. Who's your 3? If Sunday comes up? Who's Sunday?
Zach Eflin. It's got to be Zach Eflin. It's got to be Zach Eflin.
You're gonna pull Eflin out of the bullpen and have him start?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the hell he's doing in the bullpen. I understand
First career save tonight.
I know why he was put there, but listen, if you're looking at Eflin, Syndergaard, Suarez, or Falter, who are you taking out of that group?
Not Syndergaard.
If we're down 0-2, Falter, because he always seems to stop when we got a losing streak.
That's very good.
If we're up 2-0, Eflin.
Yeah,
I mean,
not Kyle Gibson, that's for sure. Not Noah Syndergaard.
That experiment is over. The Gibson.
Yeah, Kyle Gibson, get comfortable in the bullpen. That's where you're going to be for the end of the year. Yeah.
Hey, Linda. Linda's my girl. Yeah, that's right. We need fighting Phils, Linda. But yeah, no. I mean, it's a tough call. I mean, Valley Falter definitely. I mean, I'm going to go Ranger. I'm going Ranger all the way. Ride him out into the sunset if you have to. I'm a Ranger Suarez guy.
Now he's scheduled to go tomorrow. I mean, he's on the bump tomorrow, so that would be Wednesday,
Sunday. If he goes, if
he 5 days, yeah.
And that's the thing is
they pull him tomorrow, right?
What's that?
You gotta pull him tomorrow, right?
There's something to play for. We do have something to play for, and that's and we were talking about that earlier. We're only a half a game behind the Padres right now. So do we push that? Do we push that narrative to get that number 2 spot? All it would be is another opponent. We're not getting it. We're not coming home. We're on the road regardless. But do we push a potential Mets series versus a Cardinals series? Al said, I don't care. I just want to get in. I want to play whoever. I want the Mets. The hell yeah. Let's push for the Mets, man. I mean, where do you come out on that, Fred?
I do want the Mets. I really do want the Mets. Not only for the nostalgia and how cool it will be. I really would like the Mets, but I don't want to run the risk of any type of injury or any type of.
So you're saying we're in. We'll take the 3rd seed and we're there.
Because the Astros aren't playing for anything either, so I feel like we can still win going that route. I really do. So I would go, Syndergaard, Can you move him up, or did he just pitched? What
Yeah,
are the options?
You could pitch Christopher Sanchez out of the pen tomorrow. You can give him a
That's
vote.
what, yeah, Sanchez. That's right. Sanchez is up. I think he's. Here's my thing: is I wouldn't be totally against Ranger coming out and maybe throwing 3 or 4 innings for consistency purposes, because these guys sometimes when you take them out of this rotation, this might be the best thing for Nola tonight. Not just the fact that he won, got this like monkey off his back about pitching late into the season in big game situations, but at the same time he's staying in his rotation, so his consistency is staying the same. So I mean, maybe you do the same thing with Ranger. Do you put Ranger out there and just let him maybe like throw 3 or 4 innings, if he as long as he's okay, and then just take him out no matter how maybe give him a pitch count of 60, 50 or 60, and just let him get out there and get his feet wet, so he's kind of stays in his rotation for that if we need him for a game 3.
You definitely want to. You got to look at the consistency issue. Obviously, you can't have Rangers sit for what would be 8 days in between starts if that's what route you're going to go. Obviously, I think honestly, we'll know more about what the Phillies are going to do with their playoff rotation come tomorrow's first pitch. Because if Ranger is out there, then they probably are made their decision that Ranger's going to be the starter on Sunday. I mean, that's what I would think going into that.
Good point. And good point to you as well, Al. I really think, he does got. You can't let him sit for 8 days. You have to give him a few innings, no matter what.
Yeah. So I mean, definitely want to knock the rust off of things, and the same thing with the batters. I mean, it's a little different with the guys who are, not pitching, but at the same time, you want to get them a couple shots. So maybe you start a Nick Maton and then let those guys pitch hit or something at one point. I mean, there is something about keeping them warm, because remember, if that game got rained out yesterday and it became a necessary game, that means we would have to go back down
Thursday.
and we went back down Thursday and then to either St. Louis or wherever we were playing for Friday game. So thank God that all played out and we didn't get rained out in Washington.
Now, let's also talk about some of the other positions out there. If the Phillies are deciding to kind of lay down, I don't want to use that word, but if they're just kind of, it is what it is, does that mean have we seen the last of JT Realmuto to the playoffs? Have we seen the last of potentially Rhys Hoskins give Derek Hall some time at first base just to kind of see what we got? What other position moves do you think the Phillies make over the next 2 games in the lineup?
I'm going to go with, I think Stubbs does catch, but once again, I think maybe you give these guys a few innings and then maybe bring Stubbs in. I think Maton, you're going to see a lot of Maton out there. Derek Hall. I mean, I think I think it's a good time for Rhys to watch. I don't think. I mean, unless you want to experiment with moving them down the order, into the 6-7 hole, and move like a Bryson Stott up. But I think you keep Stott going for consistency purposes. I don't pull him. He's hot right now. Keep it going. And maybe give Bryce at least a day off. I don't know. There's a couple things, but I mean, you still got to play some of these guys. Definitely give maybe Schwarber's trying to hit another couple dingers. I don't know, but I'm not worried about those things. But I think you keep everything copacetic at center field. You don't want to change anything up there, but I think you get a couple guys rest if that's your plan over the next couple of games. But I don't think there's nobody who's not seeing. There's not going to be anybody not seeing any game time between now and Friday, I guess is my best point there.
Yeah, I agree. I expect to see a heavy dosage of Matt Verling, Garrett Stubbs, Nick Maton, and Derek Hall over the next. Actually, I'm really interested. I'm excited to see Derek Hall. I don't think we've ever seen him play defense. He's never really gotten an opportunity to play on the field. I mean, he's always been either a DH or a pinch hitter. So let's see. Maybe it's a tryout for next year's first base position.
I was going to say, if he does well, I mean, I think Rhys Hoskins he can help drive Rhys Hoskins to the airport.
Yeah, I absolutely 100% agree. Now, the other thing that I want to talk about, guys, and please keep the comments coming in. We're really appreciating it. And we'll get to some of them more specifically here in a second. But let's talk about the bullpen real quick. And I want to talk to you gentlemen about this. And Al, more specifically you, because we kind of lived through this together on this program back in those early days of April, May, when it was coined by Walter so appropriately, the bullpen. We have come millions of miles since then. And Jose Alvarado specifically, what has happened there? What was it? Was it the stint down in the minor leagues? What has unlocked in him that? I mean, he's got better command. He's always been a fireballer, but now he's got command. He is literally a lockdown reliever right now for us coming out of that pen. I'll go with Al first, so you can handle that.
I think what you're seeing is the velocity's still there, but his velocity was so, I'm not saying it's down. I mean, he's still throwing 98, 99, occasionally 100, but you're not seeing as much 100. I think he's wised up definitely and worry about command versus velocity. You see him out there like before when he would throw, he was so wild when he snapped back. It just looks like he closed his eyes and whipped it down to the home plate and just okay, we'll see where this ends up. I mean, even JT behind the plate, you could tell when the catchers were behind the plate with him in the beginning of the season, they were nervous. Like they were afraid of getting beamed. Like he was just so out of control. I give a lot of credit to that going down to the minors because there's a whole like apple cart upset down there that has changed in a good way that has changed with developing players. We're seeing that this year because how many times going into this year and early in this year have we said there is nothing in the minors for us? There is nothing down there. And there's been guys from the minors who have been stepping up and being clutch in games such as Stott and Vierling and Maton, and even some pitchers coming up at times. So, yeah, I give a lot of credence to that. But I think he got it like through his head finally. I think it was a little bit more of a head game. And like I said, if you just watch when he throws and the way he snaps back, he's just not so careless with it. He's very precise, and he's worrying more about hitting the mark than throwing hard.
Right, Fred.
I mean, I think they sat him down there and said, "Dude, just throw the cutter. Like, stop worrying about all the other stuff. Like, throw the damn cutter." And just let's work on that. And then he's like, wow, this cutter really, really works. So let me stick with this, because he always had the stuff. And the Tampa Bay, I almost said Lightning, the Tampa Bay Devil Rays, they have an eye for pitching. And for them to move on from him means they gave up on him, because he has the stuff. And, it took all this time, but finally, he has it and he has the energy and he has the makings of what's an exciting closer for me. Because to your question overall about our pen, we have come a long way, but we still have question marks too. And I don't like that, it's who are we going to put in tonight and what spot are they going to be in? And like Eflin had his first save tonight. And, is Robertson going to, what guy are we got that night? Like, he doesn't look like he has the stuff right now. He's gotten out of some games, but like, so is it, what are you going to do? What do you guys want to do in the bullpen? Alvarado is the only one with consistency. I guess Sir Anthony Dominguez, he's healthier now. He's got some games. I like him, but I'm not sold here.
So that leads me to my next question. With the fact that we're probably going to go down to a 3 to 4 man rotation, 3 at least for the first series, and then we'll go from there. And then we're going to push everybody else to the bullpen. Does Rob Thompson, because one of the things that I understood him coming into this job was everybody got a role now. That was one thing Joe Girardi didn't have. Everyone was unaware of what their role was on this team. But as this thing kind of went forward, we see definitely in the bullpen, that's not necessarily the case right now that I believe. But do we establish a closer and a setup guy, at least for the playoffs, and then kind of go in that direction? Or is it this committee, this bullpen by committee, still heading into the playoffs? Al, what do you think about that? Do we again, is it an apple cart situation where we don't want to mess with what the juju's been so far, or do we have to do that?
I think it's going to be more of a setup thing. Like if lefty, a lot of lefties, a lot of righties, that may change who's going to come in versus another. But I think he's going to keep things kind of status quo. But the one guy I know, the only thing I worry about Robertson is that his age.
Yeah,
is he tired? Like, is he just too tired? But the other thing is he's seen the postseason. He's been in these positions. I think if anything, he's going to be kind of a guiding light in that bullpen coming up into the playoffs. So it'll be interesting. But I mean, right now, if anybody earned it, I kind of agree with Freddie. Alvarado has earned the consistency factor, at least as of lately.
Yeah, and Sir Anthony's obviously struggling a little bit with some of his own issues. Fred, what do you think about do we establish at least a closer and a setup guy for this playoff series, or do we continue to roll this thing as committee?
I personally want to see it, much like we personally want to see the lineup tinkered with, but it's not going to happen. If he's not going to change, what he's done has gotten us to the playoffs for the first time in what's it, 4,014 days, three managers or six managers, three
GMs,
general managers. We're finally there. It's hard to argue against Topper and what he's doing. We're in the playoffs. He's not going to switch it up. He's going to go lefty righty, just like Al said. Let's just hope it works. And if it works, great. Or maybe it doesn't work, and maybe we lose because of it, and then next year we go into the season like, okay, we'll keep this, but get rid of that, and then he grows from that and makes adjustments.
Yeah, and Ellis asked, don't we get a home game? We do not, Ellis. Not in the first round.
Wild card now, Ellis.
Yeah, they've added a new round to the playoffs. It's called the wild card round, and now it's the way it works out is the first two seeds in each league get the bye week, and the worst division champion plays the worst wild card team, and the other two wild card teams play each other. The 3-game series, all at the higher seeds park. So they will not get a home game in the first round. But hopefully there's more than one round. And
oh my God, we could travel to Citi Field.
Yes, we could. And that's my God. And we have some payback to give those guys. And Al, I talked to you off camera about this a few times with Vince and the boys over at Philly Sports Trips. I mean, I'm just saying, if we do draw the Mets,
I would not be surprised if they throw something. I mean, they did it for the Tampa Bay Eagles playoff game last year. If they're at Citi Field, it's a lot easier to get to. It's a bus trip versus flights and hotels and all that. And, you can just maybe pick Saturday's game. You know what I mean? Because if anything, Saturday's game could be the most important if they win the first game, or Saturday's game keeps it going. So I would not put it past Vince, and maybe I'll have to put a phone call into him tomorrow morning and see what his plans are. But like Freddie said, even if they're not doing it, I'm not against getting in my car and driving up Friday and getting there for a game.
You're going to do the Phighins final location for the next 3 nights at Citi Field.
Hells to the yes.
Yeah. And then we also got to check out their first pitch policy at Citi Field, because I think Jamie's the Philly sports guy would be the guy that I'd want to have go out there. And
if you're going to put a Phillies fan at Citi Field, we should just
gotta be him.
Dude, at this point, I wish I was a rich man. I just go buy a whole section of tickets, give the tickets away, just to have somebody having PSG fully garbed to throw out that ball. They'll never listen. They're waiting for that.
Never do that because they're not so stupid like the Phillies organization. Like, I'm still so mad about that.
Yeah, that's where we've talked about numerous times, Matt. Where this corporation, if you want to call it, because I wouldn't say the team is so much, but this corporation is still very much outside, not connecting with the fans.
No. And Jonathan asked, who are we going to get at first that's better than Reese? Jonathan, listen.
Kyle Schwarber.
Schwarber, Castellanos, somebody else. JT. I mean, listen, Reese is a serviceable player. I'm not saying he's not good. It's just that I've seen enough to know I've seen too much of what he is. And I just can't go through these cold spells, these 3-month cold spells at the beginning of the season, the 2 months of being good, and then
next year he'll be on a contract. Isn't it a contract year next year for him?
This is his last year under team control, his last arbitration eligible year, and he hits free agency in 2024. And I'm not ready to give him that kind of a contract. Are you? No, I mean, I'm not ready to lock him down for 7 years.
That's my thing is, if he's on a contract year, Reese has value to him. So if it comes to a trade, they can package him in for this year. Especially now that the universal DH, he becomes a little bit more viable.
Yeah.
Hey, how do you like this? Bohm to first, Segura to third, sign Trey Turner. Stock to second.
I mean, if Segura could play that hot corner as well as I think he could too. But if he could play that hot corner and we can get him at, I don't want to say the song, but at a friendly deal, I'm all over that, Fred. I'm all over that.
It's been 5 years, but Turner's played some center field as well, so it brings some versatility as well. And then now Bryce is no longer injured, he's going to play right field. You get Castellanos at DH. I think it really would change some things.
Well, if you can move the DH around, that's definitely would be important. But not saying Bryce isn't injured because we don't know what happens after the end of this season. The one unfortunate side effect of us doing well and making it to the postseason is that if he needs surgery, it isn't happening now until sometime in either October or November. And if it's Tommy John or something along those lines, him being in the Phillies pinstripes playing again before June of next year could be a pipe dream.
That's
fine. So, like I said, I'm not upset about it, but if we, like I said, if we can actually move. Because even Bryce said he's bored. He said I'm bored. I'm bored being a DH. I want to be out in the field. And like a lot of remember when we brought him in, I was like, oh, he's going to be like what we've seen from Nick is what people expected to see from Harper, but I didn't see that from Harper. I mean, he wasn't. Listen, was he perfect? No, but he was not as bad as advertised by far. Now Nick, yeah, I mean he's lumbering out there. Even on his best day. He if it's a pop up, if it's an easy play, sure. But him judging a ball and having the wall to his back or something like that, that's a whole different ball game.
Yeah, it's an adventure with him out there, and obviously, we'll hash out how the season went and all that. But obviously, the returns on Nick Castellanos, the juice hasn't been worth the squeeze at this point. Steven hits up with defensively. Yeah, that's a good point. Rhys Hoskins is the corner butcher. I have never seen anybody play such an inept first base in my entire life watching baseball than that man out there. And that's always looming. That could be a problem on both sides of the corners, actually, at this point. But
with what Freddie said, does the I mean, Alec Boehm has definitely showed a huge uptick in defense on the third base side. If you move him to first, do you feel like he would be even better, or do you still think you would have that lingering first base, like those lingering moments with him?
Well, he's more of a third baseman with them long ass legs than he is a third baseman. You know what I'm saying? He's more built to play the first base position than he is third. So I think that would be a better spot for him, honestly. What are you afraid of?
I just don't know if it would screw his head up. I think he finally he was ready to leave. He was all pissed off at being here. He has improved, but I just don't. I hope it wouldn't ruin his bat. Kind of like a Scott Kingery type deal where you start moving him all over the place, and now mind is just all over the place.
But if you move him to a defensive spot that maybe he doesn't struggle at as much, or I mean, you still see him he's a lot more fluid about it, but it's not as second nature to him as other better defensive third basemen. There's not that second nature, throw. You see, he's definitely thinks about it more. So if he could take the thinking out of that, maybe it enhances the bat. I don't know. Time will tell in that situation.
Ellis asks, "What's our record against St. Louis?" We are currently 4-3 against the Cardinals this year, Ellis. So that's why we own the tiebreaker against St. Louis. It didn't come to play here, but we did own that tiebreaker. Steven says the cutter is almost a Carlton level. No joke, man. I don't know. He's talking about Alvarado's cutter. I don't know about that. You're talking about
Carlton. I love the enthusiasm.
Pitcher of all time. I don't know about that, man.
Listen, I'm not going to say Carlton, but I will agree with Steve. It's nasty. It's nasty stuff. That thing just drops. The level it comes in at, I can see why people, if you ever watch them slow it down when he pitches, if you watch, even when they slow it down, it's just makes this jut. It's really just the way it shoots down. It is nasty. Steve Carlton, I don't know, nasty, but it's nasty.
You also want to know what's going on with Brad Hand. I think Brad's gone. I don't think he's going to be available for the rest of the year. I think he's
I think he was injured out, right? He's been
he's
out.
Done. Of course, we also lost Knable at one point. So this bullpen has taken some hits, and
it's completely different if you think about it. I mean, Sir Anthony wasn't here in the beginning of the season. Robertson, however you say his name, was not here in the beginning of the year. Alvarado mentally was not here at the beginning of the year and had to go down and come back. So, I mean, the core pieces of our bullpen are not the same.
Yeah.
Oh, and Connor Brogdon was not here. Zach Eflin, if he stays in there, was not here. So our bullpen is almost completely different than it was day one.
It was, and it is actually. It's been possibly the best news story of the season because boy, it was trending in the wrong direction, and it was bad. I mean, it was epically bad.
It was going to be historically bad. If
Yeah.
we just kept going at the way we were trending, we would have been like the worst bullpen in history.
All right, gentlemen, we're coming up long on the hour here, and let's wrap things up. But obviously, from a personal standpoint, I want to thank the two of you because of the EOP stature that you are. I've had the opportunity for over 160 games to do this, and when I came to you, Al, back in the spring, I think it was in March, I asked you. I said, I want to do a Phillies post game, and you're like, you do realize it's 162 games without making the playoffs, right? I'm like, yes, I do know that. But it's been a great experience. I've enjoyed it. I want to keep it going. I hope it keeps going for at least another month. I'm thrilled to death that the Phillies are back in the postseason, and I'm even more thrilled that I had the opportunity to kind of track it here on the Fighting Final this season. So I want to thank you guys for giving me that opportunity. What are your final thoughts on the Phillies getting into the playoffs?
I'll go first. Matty B, dude, to fucking get through this whole season, like amazing. And there's times like, there's no one to do it with. You know what I mean? And that's very hard to do, and to consistently nail every single game. Shout out to you, man. Don't thank the network. That your work is what, and your consistency is what got that. So awesome stuff. I hope it continues. As far as my final thoughts, dude, I'm with Tom for now. 13 more games to a World Series champions. That's where I'm at, and I'm riding it that way. And I got to get me one of them T-shirts they got, the 2022 Rise shirts. I got it's Red October. Red October.
I'm sure they'll be for sale. To kind of go along with Freddie, yeah, Maddie, the fruit basket's coming from us to you, not the other way around. When you did come to me, I remember saying to you, you want to do like a series final, like so you're not doing like 7 games a week sometimes, and you said no. I go home or go big or go home, and I said fair enough. And I remember talking to somebody about your Flyers final coming up next week, and I said somebody said to me, he goes, "That's a lot of games he's going to do." I'm like, he just got done doing the Phillies every game, and they're like, "Oh." So no, kudos to you guys, because next me and Matty B have already talked about next year with new segments to this, some fresh faces, some different just different things. We're going to keep adding to it, more production. But for the first year, I mean, God damn it, Matty, you did a hell of a damn job. And I'm just going to go with this with my final thought. Let's fucking go.
Yeah, let's fucking go indeed. And before we do go, let's kind of check in on some sponsors, because I didn't do that at all, and I'm really getting bad at that. But with all the good vibes circulating around the city right now, with the Eagles being 4-0 and now the Phillies in the playoffs, and if you're not having